Welcome, friends. Day 7 of our 10-day journey of self love and emotional healing. And today's topic is about identity shift. So, probably I'm going to say things that you have heard before. And as I've been mentioning to others in my life, this reminder that we hear things in new ways from where we are in this moment. So even the things that we've heard before, we have the opportunity to hear differently and to take something new from them and make additional adjustments in our lives, which is what today's topic is about: identity shift. You see, because in order to have a new experience, a new way of being, we have to change and be something that we haven't been before. And so the process of being human, the process of being alive, repeatedly gives us opportunities to be in a state of upheaval or chaos or change, where the energy patterns are no longer stable in the way that they have been before. And so that gives us the opportunity to redefine ourselves, to become something different, to stabilize in a different way of being, to stabilize at a higher level of self love. Sorry, because I've got this phlegm happening today. Mm. And I'm not going to for this moment in time, I am identifying as a person who doesn't have the skills and edit their own videos before they put them out. And it's going to require a learning process and some chaos for me to learn the skills so that I can raise my vibration around that, so that I can have a different result. Perfect illustration of the topic of the day: shifting our identity. And it requires this path. And we've talked about it many times already in this series of lessons, of sessions. So, um, how you do anything impacts how you do everything. That is both the challenge and the opportunity. How you do anything impacts how you do everything. How you do anything impacts everything. Your identity: I am a person who does this, feels this, responds this, impacts everything else. Your identity is critical to how you experience life. And changing any aspect of that moves the energy. It may create unstable energy for a while until you settle on and you practice being a different way. For instance, for myself, I used to be pretty impatient on a regular basis as a driver around Dallas traffic, particularly. Always wanting to be first, always wanting to be in front, always this, always that. And being frustrated. And I decided somewhere along the way, I made some little shift. And I think that it was that I decided that I didn't want to be in that energy. It may have been being diagnosed with high blood pressure. I don't frankly remember what the smallest first shift was or decision was. And I set a new intention. And then I practiced one little bit at a time, being aware of the different outcome and the different experience that I wanted to have. I've also shared with you that one day I just decided to add more love to everything. And that was one of the shifts that I made. And the more that I practiced that, the more it impacted everything because I allowed it to continue to have that influence. And now I still don't like to be boxed in. I still want to be able to see the environment around me. I don't like being close to the person in front of me. I would rather be out in front because I want to be able to see. I need to be able to see. And I'm not in a rush. That was another part of my identity, is that I had to be always on time. And if I wasn't on time, which I often wasn't on time, there would be great intensity around that and great self criticism and judgment and projecting. And I created that experience for myself. And I have changed that. I'm like, well, this, and that happened. This is what reality is. I'm accepting the reality. So part of what I'm doing right now is I'm kind of reviewing the lessons that we've already had in this series, if you'll remember those, and just sharing examples to give you a chance to reflect on your life and your identity and your way of being, to notice how simple it is to change everything and that it is a process. And identity is a huge part of it. I am a person who accepts myself regardless of the circumstances. Whether I created it or someone else created it, I accept it and I learn from it. Phrasing that, however, is helpful for yourself is going to have an impact on everything. And remember the competency square, unconscious incompetence through the process to unconscious competence. That is that shift of identity, the shifting of the energy. And everything that we do has an impact on the patterns of our being and the patterns of our experience. So, another story about this, about identity. It's a lot deeper, more complex, more intense than the examples that I've shared before, but recognizing that sometimes shifting our identity can be very threatening. There are things that we're holding on to about our story, about our identity, that we have practiced for so long. They are so entrenched that we don't even know who we would be if we didn't have that story. And therefore, stopping telling the story can feel very threatening because it's our very foundation. And without it, we feel untethered. We feel like we're just tossing in the wind. We're in chaos without our identity. It goes back to that. For myself, it was a weekend camping getaway by myself and taking the time to journal and write about this story that I had about how horrible my childhood was, and blaming my parents, making my parents responsible for who I was and the life that I was living and the life that I wasn't living. And I had been telling that story to anybody who would listen. I was so caught in it. And I couldn't become anything else. And I spent that time, that weekend, journaling about it and questioning myself, questioning the world, questioning God, if you will. Who am I without this? And can I let it go? Partly because, frankly, it's in the body, right? We've talked about the body keeps the score. It's in the body, it's in the brains, it's in the neurological circuits, it's in the patterns of relating with the world. And how do I do differently when I don't know how to do differently? So, the question I would encourage you to pose to yourself is, what story or stories are you holding on to about who you are, about who you can be, about who you can't be, about what you can have and what you can't have, what you can do and what you can't do? What stories are you holding on about who you are and who and how you be in this world that are just yours because you've repeated them so much, just because you've lived them, and you don't have to continue living them? How would you like to be? How would you like to identify yourself? If you're a person who gets angry at any small offense, can you look inside of that and find where it started and say, I see you. I love you. I understand. And I'm choosing, as who I am in this moment, to not be that way anymore. I'm choosing to let that go. I am choosing to remain in my sovereignty. I choose to stay in my peace. I choose to stay in this being, in my identity as this peaceful person, as this strong person who doesn't give their energy away and allow chaos, chaotic energy to rule me because of someone else's actions. I will not be moved. I will not be moved. And I will do it with grace and passion and compassion and determination and love. What does that look like for you? Who do you choose to become? How do you choose to be? Question those old identities. Question if they serve you, and if they do, by all means, maintain that energy and reinforce it. Look at the things around you about how you are being that you love, that are bringing you the experiences that you desire, and increase them. Start from there. Say, yeah, this is cool about me. I want more of this. And comfort the ego in that way and encourage it in that way so that it's focused. You are focused on who you're becoming, who you are wanting to be. Don't get stuck in the who I've been that I don't want to be. Just give it some love. Add some love to that. All right, my friends, that is complete for the day. I look forward to seeing you again soon. If you haven't already, I would so appreciate it if you would subscribe to the channel and like the video and just help me to grow this community and have dialogue with one another. I appreciate you. I love you. Namaste.